This week is all about making your slow blues sound better. And today we take a look at this week's licks and see how you can use this good stuff in your own playing. So stay tuned. Welcome, friends, to this episode of the Play Guitar Podcast. I'm Lee, and this is the podcast that's determined to make you a better guitar player. No matter if you're just starting out or you've been playing for years, this is the show that will help you become the guitar player that you always wanted to be. If you are new here, hello, and make sure you subscribe to the podcast and check out the description for all of the links from the show. Well, it's wonderful to spend the day with you today. We got something kind of new going on. Want to let you know about it a little bit. So don't know where you are, don't know what you're doing, but I know you're listening to me. So we're friends at this point. I just kind of let you in on what's going on. So the podcast, I've been doing the podcast since 2018. It's been super steady, super reliable. A lot of people, they'll come in, they'll find a show, they'll say, hey, I like this. They'll go back to episode 1. They'll work their way through I don't even know how many episodes we're at now. Well into the 300s, onto the 400s at this point. So, and it's great. It's been a wonderful thing. I've gotten to know a lot of you. I have a lot of students from this. I've met a lot of just friends by email and those kind of things. And so, what I do is I film this, and I do a couple things with the podcast when I film it. I cut them into little snippets and I put them onto Instagram and YouTube, little parts of the podcast, and those do fantastic on there. So a lot of new people have come in through those, and if that's you, hello, welcome. And then what I'll do is I'll put the whole thing on YouTube. Now, traditionally, YouTube has pretty much ignored the podcast. We'll get a little bit here or there, but it's not, and rightfully so. This is not geared towards YouTube. This is geared towards an audio podcast for you. The video was something kind of extra. And I thought, well, if I do something on the audio podcast that someone might want to see, or maybe they didn't get it, it would be better visually. So I'll just put it up there anyway, even though it's not really made for YouTube, I'll put it up there. So I do that all the time, and I just kind of put them up there, and I don't really even think about it anymore. Just throw it up, and if anybody sees it, that's cool. So, about 3 months ago, one of these episodes I put up, it kind of hit. Well, I think it's got 50,000 downloads now. So I thought, hey, what was it? It was a lick video. It was like the common blues licks that we talked about the other day. That worked really well. So since then, I thought, hey, let's turn this YouTube thing into something real. So every Wednesday, last week I didn't make it to Wednesday, came out on Friday, but pretty much every Wednesday, I've been putting up a lick video since then. And it's been fun. And I was thinking, gosh, there's so many good things in these lick videos. So many things that we could, really dive deep into. And honestly, the way I think about it, this is from teaching a lot of people and seeing a lot of problems. I could put a tab in front of someone, or a scale pattern in front of someone, or a chord sheet in front of someone, and eventually they would learn it and they could be able to play it. But that doesn't mean that they would understand it. And the understanding, and of course you know this because you're a listener of the podcast, the understanding is the thing that actually makes you better. Knowing what you're doing and being in control of it. There's so many people out there who are not in control of their guitar playing. It's imitating. And it's trying to take something that you imitated and maybe use it in a place that it may not work very well, and not understanding why. So to me, well, I kind of cut to the chase. Well, what's the thing that's actually going to make you better? Not just make you feel like you're getting better. Of course, you play a tab and you learn a song and you get that feeling. I did it. It's like I climbed the mountain. There I am. I got the little flag and I'm standing at the top of the mountain. I'm waving to everybody, right? I did it. So there. And then what happens after that? Not much. You can play it again, or you can play it for some people, but you can't take any of that information that's in that piece of music that you learned and do more things with it. Make it grow. Make you grow as a musician. You're just basically stuck with that, right? And you pull that out every once in a while to play it, and then it goes away again. But you're missing a lot of things. And so in my view, that's just how I think. Let's go to the thing that's actually going to make you better. Now, but some people, that's either scary or it's not fun or these things. And I'm the cheerleader on the other side. I'm the person at the end of the tunnel waiting to say, come on, come this way. It is going to be much more. If you just do these things, the good stuff's over here on the other side. And that's what I've been trying to do for years. And so I think with YouTube, that's the thing. That YouTube is more, think about the mode that you're in when you're doing guitar stuff on YouTube. Oh, I'm going to learn this. You're picking your a la carte menu. I'm picking this and I'm picking this. And the things that you pick may not be the best for you at the time that you're there, right? There may be some skills that you're missing that one would make it difficult to learn the thing that you're picking, to master that. Or at two, just you're going to be held back the longer that you don't address those skills that are needed to build this house that we call being a musician. So in with these licks, what I was doing is, instead of just showing you those on YouTube, instead of just saying, here they are and do it this way and it's going to be great, I tried to tell you, well, this is the third and this is the fifth. And the reason why this works is because it matches the chord. And then this note sounds tense because it doesn't match the chord. And if I did it 3 or 4 times, I'd build the tense. So I would go through each of the licks. I do go through each of the licks and explain why they work and how you can take these ideas and move them into a new thing. And it's been great. It's been fun. I've been able to take the thing that I didn't like, which was just giving people stuff to learn and then knowing that, okay, they'll learn it, but not a lot will come of it. But I would take that, and any of you who are my coaching students know I say, I'm a dad, and when my daughter was young, we would sneak the cauliflower in the mashed potatoes, right? Mashed potatoes, everybody loves mashed potatoes. Nobody really wants to eat the cauliflower. You put it in there, you can't tell the difference, but you're getting your vitamins, right? So I'm doing the same thing with this. I'm on YouTube. I'm teaching lick videos. They're actually paying attention to me now. So I'm meeting some more people. And as I'm doing it, I'm actually teaching and trying to give someone something better from that. So I've been excited about this, and it's been a lot of fun. And I thought, there's some really good things here. What could I do? How could I bring some of this to my regular listeners, to you, to people who are maybe not able to get to your guitar at the moment, or maybe who just like to listen to long form podcasts more than short form videos? What could I do? What could I do for that? So as I'm looking at these licks, and I say, well, there's some main topics that I'm using in them, that I use to create these licks. There's some ideas that are different than just playing the minor pentatonic scale up and down in here. I explain them in the video, but why not take a deep dive into these ideas in the audio podcast? So this is my idea, the audio podcast. I'm going to be talking a little bit about the big topics in the licks. So what would happen is the lick video would come out on Wednesday. The audio podcast will also come out on Wednesday. So if you hear it and you start to think about this, Lee's talking about going from the minor third to the major third. Well, I don't really know how to do that. Well, you could go over to the YouTube video, and there it is right there for you. The tabs on the screen, and there I am teaching it and taking you through this as well. So maybe on the audio podcast, you get the concept of this, and then on the YouTube video, you would get the practical application of it. So having in 1 week all of this content together in harmony, making sense and really helping. So that's my idea. Now, am I Am I changing this forever? Changing the format? I don't know. I don't, unless if it's great, if it's much better. Yeah. But I have a lot of ideas for this. I thought, well, how about, so I'm talking about slow blues today. Of course, it's just me here today, but what if I got someone who's a great slow blues player and we talk about these things and get to the bottom of them and get two different approaches of how I use them and how this person used them? Or what if I brought a community member on and we talked about these things and they might have more questions that I didn't even think about there. So I have some ideas for this. I might even set up a different set that's a little more comfortable, more like a, more like a podcast studio where if you watch me on video, I'm up at my desk with all my teaching things here. So maybe it's something where I can have my tea and get the lightsabers out and all the Star Wars things out and have some fun with it too. So today what we're going to do is we're going to be talking about the things that were important in my slow blues licks video and what you should really take away from them. And what are the main themes? What are the things I did to make these interesting? Now, this was a beginner video, but in the beginner video, we looked at some really cool things. In slow blues, there's some pros and some cons, right? So when you play in slow blues, you have a lot of time to think. So if you're improvising in a slow blues, say I'm playing, this was in G, and I think it was 60 beats per minute. I may be even playing it too fast right now, right? So if you're playing this, you got time to think, what am I going to do next? What do I do now? Okay, I'll go high. It gives you time to think. So in slow blues, it's a lot of fun. It's casual. It's kind of sweet sounding. It's pretty neat. But you also have more room to mess up, right? You've got a lot of time. Anytime you have something with a slow tempo gives you a lot of time to mess up, especially with rhythms. So if you're playing quarter notes in between a measure in slow blues, those are okay because you can feel the beat. Then you play eighth notes in between those. Now those are harder to find, right? You got a lot of space. You may overshoot them, undershoot them, and then how about 16th notes? Well, those rush, or they get compressed, or you're late on them. They go all over the place, right? And when it's faster, they tend to land a little bit better than in slow blues. So there's some pros and cons to playing slow blues. What I did in this, the special theme that I made for this is adding in some notes. Here's why I did that. When you add in notes to the regular minor pentatonic scale, if all you played were these notes, that's all you played, it's going to sound very vanilla as you go through a slow blues. Everything's going to have the same sound. And when you listen to masterful players play slow blues, they're not just sticking to the minor pentatonic. They're using some other notes that come in. So how could I get a beginner who's already learned pattern 1 of the minor pentatonic and already knows, the ear's already telling them that what I'm playing with this is super basic. And it's frustrating, right? I learned this thing. I spent the time learning this pattern, and it's kind of getting me there, but it's not the things I want to hear. How could I get them to start hearing something new that will take them in the right direction, where you're playing to the chord instead of just knowing, well, I'm in the key of G, I'm going to play the G minor pentatonic scale? How could I start some ear training as a beginner right away? So my idea was, I'm going to make some licks that are very simple, but one of the notes in these simple licks is a smart note. It's a note that actually references the chord that's playing behind. And then I thought, okay, I'll do that, and I'll make 5 licks as we go. And they're very small. They're not difficult at all. Any beginner could play these from the tablature, and they could take a look. I did them all in pattern 1, so they could take a look what I'm playing in pattern 1 and what's in these licks. What's the difference? Well, it's usually just these one note things here. When I play that note that's not in the pattern, I get the sound that I just heard in my head from this video. I thought that would be a great vehicle for bringing a beginner out of that path that's heading them straight for a rut, which I help people as that's what I do. I help people get out of those ruts, right? So in the first lick was, I did 2 in this one, right? So the first one is I'm bending the 4th up to a 5th, easy. Now that's the first thing I said in the video is, you have to match your bends to a note. If you get halfway there, it might just sound kind of out of tune and unfocused, right? So up to the 5th, back to the 5, minor 3rd. And I said, that's the sad note because it's in the minor pentatonic. It's one of our minor pentatonics. Then we go to a note a half step above that. And that's the note that is not in the skeleton scale that a beginner has learned with this. Listen to that. Listen to that, how it fits that chord so well. That's the major 3rd. And then I explained how in blues, the scale patterns don't match the chords on purpose. It's a tension there, but you don't always want that tension. Sometimes you want something to resolve. And being able to do that when you want to or when you don't want to is a powerful skill to have when you're an improviser. Or a writer as well too. So in this first lick, we went from the minor 3rd to the major 3rd. Something that a lot of people don't discover until they're well into their intermediate years, right? This is getting a beginner's ear to hear that right away and starting to go, there's something here. I don't have to just stay with these notes. There's other notes that I could get other flavors, other colors from these there. So that was the first one. The second one was, okay, that's a little bit more tense. What is that doing? That is using the blue note, right? That's the sharp 4 or the flat 5, whichever you want to call it. That's this on the G string. I'm in G from the 6th fret to the 5th fret, right? 6th fret, that is the C sharp or the D flat. That's the note. Super outside, super tense, right? You want to use that. It sounds good because it chromatically, it goes right to the next note, right? But, and a lot of people find that on their own, just fooling around on the guitar. Oh, that sounds good. I like that. Well, this is showing that you can, in an improv, you can throw that in there if you want that tense sound. And another thing is that as we go through these licks, they always resolve with the strong note. End of the first lick, end of the first phrase. These are 2 parts of one lick, the first phrase and the end of second. They both end on G, right? So we're doing all these things. We're adding some other notes in there, and then we're ending on the G. All that is super important, especially for beginners. Hey, what are you going to do? You're going to just spend years just stuck in the same place, or are we going to push it a little bit, get a little bit faster progress here? So we're doing the special notes. One was the major 3rd. The second special note that I worked on was the blue note right there. Now I did another one here. So lick number 2 in this is we go, hear that right there? That's going to another chord. I'm sure you can hear, if this is the 1 chord, this is a lick that takes you from 1 chord to the next. So as a beginner, we've got the 2 3s on the backside of pattern 1, which is fun. Everybody loves to do that. The tonic note, the flat 7th, the next note down the scale, and then we go back 1 more to the 2nd fret. Whoa, that's not in my 1 4 1 3 1 3. That's not in my minor pentatonic pattern. What is that? Well, this note right here is the third of that chord. So you say, okay, well, I'm a beginner. I can't really start to think about the notes in each of the chords. But what you can do is find that note and see where it sits compared to the notes that I already know, the 1, 4, 1, 3, 1, 3. That's easy to do. Well, when I play E, it's right here. In the key of G, that's a major sixth. Okay, that note right there is a sweet sound. So if I was playing and I wanted to get that a little bit of a sweet sound, I might play that note there. Okay, I can add that in. These are add-ons to this thing that we all know. Pattern 1 of the minor pentatonic. Sounds great. Major sixth in blues. Then, let's see here. What did I know? That's just a regular pentatonic lick. But then in lick number 4, I go up to, I do another add-on note. This one is the second, or sometimes you'll call it the ninth, depending on the same note. All right. So we're going up minor pentatonic, B string to the high E string, and then we, instead of going to, which is the high note of our pattern, 1, 4, 1, 3, 1, 3, I go 1 fret behind that, the second degree of the scale. Boy, when I hear that, I think the 5 chord. Why is that? Well, if you ever played the James Brown chord, the 9th chord in blues, right? It's the highest note of that chord. It is, what is this? This is the D7 and this is an A. So that's the 5th. It's an actual chord note for in there. So you hear that Stevie Ray Vaughan play that all the time. Everybody plays that. When you go to the 5 chord, right? You play that in there. So, hey, I'm a beginner. I can play my minor pentatonic all day long. Now here comes that D chord. I'm going to play that note. It's going to sound great every single time. So we're getting some other notes that we can put in like spices or take away if we don't want that, or put them in at a specific time and taking them away. Even if a beginner is not good at that, even if they struggle with it, just knowing that these things can happen points you in the right direction. And over time, you'll be working towards those and getting them instead of going down some route and not realizing, oh, okay, I'm just playing minor pentatonic over and over and over and over again and not getting any place with your blues improv. And the last one, we just do a little bend there. So a little blues lick there. So I added the major third, the blue note, which is the sharp 4, flat 5, the major 6th, and the second, which you could call the 9th too, depending on how you're using it, right? So all of those notes can be added to our minor pentatonic and get some great sounds. And this is done in a way that is not difficult. Not one of these licks is difficult. They're all easily accessible from a beginner, but there's the good stuff in there. So, hey, next time that you're sitting down with your guitar, head on over to Play Guitar Academy, the YouTube play. I think it's like youtube.com /@ Play Guitar Academy. I think all of the YouTube channels now, you put an @ symbol and then the name of the channel, and it'll take you right there. I've got a link in there as well, too. But you can sit down and play these things. Have a great time. Have a lot of fun. What are some other takeaways, big ideas from this? Well, rhythm is really important in slow blues. You don't want to play 16th notes all of the time in slow blues. You need to have some space. You need to have some times where, okay, what's he going to play next? What's she going to play next? So in this one, I picked a rhythm, and you can always do that. In this one, if the beat is 1, 2, 3, bop, 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 bop. So on beat 4, I did an 8th note triplet on beat 4 in all of these. So it's 1, 2, 3, bop, 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 bop. Everything, bop, 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 bop. Every single time, bop, 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 bop. Every single one of these rhythms takes advantage of the 4th beat with a triplet on it right there. It sounds great over a swing feel, slow blues like this. And you don't have to play them all like this. I picked that because I thought it sounded great. But I could have done that triplet on beat 1 or beat 2. You could not even do a triplet. You could do swing eighth notes, bop, 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 bop. And swing is another thing, learning where to place notes in a certain feel. Well, if I'm playing rock, 1 and 2 and 1 and 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. Rock and swing as a beginner, learning, okay, there's different ways of playing notes for different styles of music, different feels. So I picked a certain rhythm, and it wasn't like each measure I played a different rhythm. I played the same rhythm every single time. And made something that sounded really nice out of it too. And this is a technique that you could do. You could say right before, whatever I do first, say it's an improv and it's your turn, go, and you play a little lick. Whatever the rhythm is of that lick, keep doing it. Just use other notes in there. So if you were to go 1, 2, 3, 4. Ba, 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 ba. And so instead of going on to a different rhythm, I repeated that rhythm, but just with different notes. I don't know if that's good or not. I just off the top of my head played that, and that might work for a while. Then you might try something else and use that as your basic rhythm that you work on, and take your scale pattern and do different notes from the scale pattern, but using the same rhythm over times. It's going to sound planned. It's going to sound like you meant to do this, like there was some forethought with that, which there would have been because you chose a rhythm to play. Or maybe there's a song that you love and there's maybe a lick that you love the rhythm of. You could take the rhythm from that lick and then you could make a whole solo up over top of that rhythm. There's so many things that you can do. So anyway, we spent a lot of time together today. I thought this was a really good idea. Bottom line, we talked about some important things. We talked about adding in notes that match the chord rather than just playing the same scale all the time. We talked about slow blues. We talked about issues with when you have a lot of time, rhythm becomes very important. You can make a lot of mistakes when you have a lot of time to make mistakes. We talked about the major third. We talked about the blue note. We talked about the major sixth, the ninth. Each one of those is a podcast topic right there. And then we talked about other takeaways, which is rhythm and choosing some rhythms in there, and swing versus straight there. So this was a lot of fun. Like I said, I'm just trying this out. I'm going to try it out for a few weeks. Go on over to the YouTube page and take a look at the video. Then maybe even come back and listen to this, and maybe you'll get some really, really good things that will change your playing from here forward. And I also have, and I would get a hold of this too. There is a free course that I gave away a long time ago. It's still up there. It's called Get Your Blues Solos Under Control. At some point, I'm going to be updating this, and it may actually be like a paid course or something like that. So right now it's for free. I would suggest you head over there. It's playguitaracademy.com/blues-solos-under-control and grab that while we got it. Okay. All right. Thanks, everybody. This was a lot of fun. Very mellow. I enjoyed it, and I enjoyed spending time with you, and have fun in your rest of your day. Okay. That's a wrap. Thanks for joining me today for the Play Guitar Podcast. Make sure to hit the button below to subscribe to the show. And if you have benefited from this podcast, please leave a favorable Apple Podcasts iTunes review. It's the best way to make sure we get this very valuable content to more guitar players around the world. And if more help, structure, and results in your guitar playing sound good to you, what are you waiting for? Play Guitar Academy is here. Head on over there and say hi. We're getting together every Wednesday. It's a lot of fun. And I'll see you on the next episode.